This Libor.
Absolutely,
that was
very
a big
much
story once. It feels like a long time ago.
I know,
but
it's come back again today, yes. In fact, the current Libor rate-setting system is no longer a viable option. That's according to a government-commissioned review. It's laid out proposals for reform, including stronger sanctions against those who abuse the system. Martin Wheatley, Managing Director of the Financial Services Authority, who heads up the review, drew up the proposals in an initial discussion paper. It's going to examine how the Libor rate, that's the benchmark interest rate for trillions of financial contracts, is calculated and regulated. Well, Chris Roebuck is a banking expert and joins me now from the London Stock Exchange. Chris, good to talk to you. What do you make of what we've heard today?
It's perfectly predictable, and let's be fair, I'm surprised that the Libor rate setting process lasted as long as it did. Effectively, it was based on people being honest, and it actually goes back to the days of the city where people did stock exchange deals by shaking hands, and the key driver of behaviour in the city was utter integrity, so you could trust the answers that people were giving you. The problem is that that sort of process doesn't really work very well when the culture has changed and the key driver is making as much money as possible, because a process like that will be misused.
So do you think it will work well to actually use actual trade rates?
Yeah, that makes more sense. The key element here is it has to be something that's A, practical, so it can be used day to day, B, credible, so everyone believes the figures, and obviously C, accurate, in that it's an accurate reflection of what's happening in the real world. And that was the problem with the misuse of Libor, in that it wasn't an accurate reflection, and some banks were adjusting their figures because they knew other banks were adjusting their figures as well, so the whole thing got into a vicious circle of everybody trying to outbid everybody else, which was farcical.
I mean, the incredible thing is that none of this was regulated, neither the submitting of these rates by the banks, nor the actual calculation of the rates.
Yeah, but that goes back to the point I made earlier, in that the whole thing started way back in the days when the key driver was integrity. And you knew that if you were the BBA and you said to the bank, what is your rate, they would give you an honest answer. The problem was that the world has moved on since then, and sadly there are people in the city who in the past did not behave with integrity and were driven purely by profit. So actually it goes to the core issue about what is the morality of people operating in the banking, in fact in the whole corporate world, and what are their leaders saying to them about what their behaviour should be. Because even if we do have a new process with Libor, and even if we do have sanctions, you cannot regulate people into behaving with integrity all the time. If someone wants to get around the system, they will somehow.
What does that say about our banking system then, if you believe that there's no integrity left there at all?
I'm not saying there's no integrity. I'm saying that you have to make a judgment in terms of how far you pin people down and give them less wiggle room, so to speak, to misbehave. There are hundreds and thousands of people in the banking industry who have behaved throughout their careers with utter integrity. It's just that there are a very, very few who have behaved badly. The problem is, how difficult do you make it for those that have behaved well in an attempt to utterly pin down those who might behave badly?
Interesting argument. Chris Roebuck, good to talk to you. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again in the future.
Yeah.